All right, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about frustration, and I'll get real with you. Frustration is one of the things that I struggle and I battle with a ton more than I want to, right? And I recently began to realize why, and I thought maybe I'd share this with you and see if any of you guys were dealing with similar issues and might be able to relate. The idea of frustration when things are going bad makes perfect sense to me, right? Like, I'm frustrated I can't pay my bills. I'm frustrated, I feel like my relationship is failing, right? But many times in life, you get the breaks you're looking for. You hit the goals that you're working for, that you're striving towards, and yet you still feel frustrated. And that really challenged me, and I really had to kind of take a look at frustration from a different angle. And, if you're anything like me, goal setting is kind of a regular part of your life. We run quarterly meetings. I'm in a lot of different companies and departments, and we're always setting new goals in these meetings, and we talk about them every single week. Are we on track to hit them and whatnot? And if we didn't hit the goal, we take a look around and we say, hey, why didn't we hit this goal? And if we think that we fixed the issue, then we'll either reset the goal or sometimes we'll even set the goal even higher. Which seems crazy. It's like you haven't even hit this goal that you were working for, but now your goal is even higher. And then what's the reward for actually hitting the goal? Usually it's a higher damn goal, right? And so my life is constantly spent more so between goals, which means I'm always short of basically where I'm looking to go, right? No matter where I'm at. And so this gets into the idea of perspective, into hope, and into contentment, really. I know that many people have this I'll be happy when type mindset, right? For me, it's sometimes been actually easier to be content before the success of hitting a goal. Because once you hit the goal, like I said, it's like, I thought this would feel different. I thought I would be happier. I thought I'd be more content. And so if you're struggling with this, you want to be careful about not taking the easy way out, right? You can sit back and say, what the hell am I supposed to do? Just stop setting goals then? And no. Heck no. I'm a firm believer in the idea of always building, always growing, and in order to know where you're going, you've got to have a destination, right? Otherwise, you're just wandering around. You're never going to know where you're going to wind up, right? So learning to be content in every circumstance, that's a lesson that we could go on its own. But as a follow-up to the previous video, how you label it determines how you handle it. If you guys watched that one from Monday. This applies to your problems, as we talked about then, but it also applies to our frustrations. And when I started recognizing that, listen, frustration comes from living in this gap between where I am today and where I'm going. I can recognize two things. That first, as an entrepreneur, or really anybody that's working at growing, right? You could be growing at becoming a better father, a better spouse, a better business leader, a bodybuilder, a faster runner, right? Whatever. If you're working towards a goal, you're going to be subject to frustration. So frustration will come. How you handle it, how you manage it, is what you have control over, right? So just recognizing that, listen, it's natural for me to be subject to frustration, I think is the first thing. Just recognizing that point, right? And that frustration or this gap does not come from a failure. I'm just a terrible person. I'm never good enough, right? It is not that whatsoever. In fact, it's quite the opposite, right? It's because you are constantly putting yourself out there, living on the edge and trying to grow, trying to better this world, trying to better yourself, trying to better your business. Because you're working on those, that's why this frustration can come into your life, not because of your shortcomings, right? But because of your strengths and because you are making this world a better place. I've heard it said sometimes the idea of the difference between travel and traveling, right? We take a trip to New York every year, and we typically have young kids in a van, and we are traveling to our destination. And as we are traveling to our destination, what do I hear from the back all the time? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Everybody's so focused on the destination that they miss out on the journey. But if you just go romantically on a backpacking trip through Europe, and I'm just going to travel Europe, right? That's a different ballgame. You're there and living in kind of the experience of things. So I think that's helpful. But, recognizing that your frustration comes from your expectation. So what are you expecting for your life, right? And do you think that it would ever be a healthy way to live to not have expectations? Like, no, you want to have hope and expectation for things in the future, right? And that's recognizing that if I'm continually doing that, which is what I want to be doing, that I'm going to be living with some element of frustration. It normalizes this situation, right? So we start to recognize that, like, we're not out to seek perfection, right? But just to manage this frustration and to persistently persevere, right? Making progress every single day. Kind of like a duck gliding through the water, right? You've got these tiny little paddles that you're going over and over and over again, right? That are building up momentum. And those little paddle marks are unseen to the rest of the world, first of all, but sometimes they're even unseen even to ourselves. They're just small enough little movements. What could this possibly do? What could one little paddle of a duck actually do, right? But it is these unrecognized moments that are working us towards greatness, right? That we have to look back sometimes and see how far we've actually made it. So these battles that we struggle with on a day-to-day basis, the work that we're putting in today, it's building us to become stronger so that we can hold the weight of our success of tomorrow. If you had everything that you've ever wanted, if you think about where could my business be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, right? If I had all of that success, if that's what my business looked like today, would I be able to handle it? Would the business be able to handle it, right? And it's like these reps that we're putting in today, right, are growing us to become who we need to be, building our business to what it needs to be so that we can handle all that we're going to have to handle in our future successes. So don't get overwhelmed by these frustrations, right? We just need to learn to manage them, to work through them, to persevere and embrace that through our frustrations, through our battles, we're going to receive a revelation of who we are becoming and all that we can and will accomplish. So stay strong out there. And as always, I'm Zachary Betters, wishing you a great day and an even better tomorrow.